The night my car went over a rain-slick cliff outside Portland, my husband was not calling the highway patrol. He was in our bed with my best friend, laughing over the phone while my son fought for breath at home. I heard him say, "Let the dead weight disappear. 10 years of pretending is enough," but I did not die. I crawled back with a scar, a new name, and a plan that would make their perfect American life collapse on camera. The mop bucket clipped the heel of Ashley's white designer boot, and dirty water splashed across the marble floor of Mark's downtown office building. She froze in the lobby, one hand on her phone, the other gripping my son's shoulder too hard. Then she looked down at me like I was something that had crawled out of a drain. "Are you kidding me?" she snapped. "You people get paid to do the easiest job in the world, and you still manage to ruin everything." I kept my head low under the gray janitor cap. My hands stayed on the mop handle. My face stayed hidden behind thick glasses and a cheap blue mask. Mark barely glanced at me. His tailored coat, his watch, his calm smile. All of it looked exactly the same as the night he sent me into the storm. "Ashley? Leave it," he said. "She's not worth the energy." Ashley stepped closer. "Apologize like you mean it. Or maybe I'll call building management and have you dumped back wherever they found you." My son, Caleb, stared at me from behind her arm. His eyes were tired. Too tired for a child. I saw the little rescue inhaler clipped to his backpack, the same kind I had been trying to bring home when my life split open on that cliff. I bent down, picked up the fallen toy truck near his shoe, and held it out without touching his fingers. Ashley snatched it away. "Don't put your hands on my kid." That was when I finally looked up. Not enough for Mark to know me, just enough for Ashley to see the scar that cut from my temple to my jaw. I said, "Dirt washes off. Blood does not." Her mouth twitched. Mark narrowed his eyes. But the elevator doors opened before either of them could make sense of me. They walked in, polished and poisonous, while Caleb kept looking back at me until the silver doors swallowed him. My name used to be Nora Whitaker. In the life they stole, I was Mark Hayes' wife, Caleb's mother, and the quiet woman who signed papers she did not fully read because she believed marriage was supposed to be trust. After the crash, I became Evelyn Carter on a payroll form, Evie on a plastic name tag, and nobody to the people who had buried me alive in every way except the one that counted. The night of the crash had started with Caleb coughing so hard, his small chest pulled in under his ribs. The power was out in our house in Lake Oswego. Rain slapped the windows, and Mark stood in the hallway with a glass of bourbon in his hand. "Go get the refill," he said. "The roads are flooding." I told him, "Call urgent care. Call an ambulance." He leaned close, his voice soft enough that Caleb would not hear. "You want them asking why his inhaler ran out? You want them writing down that his mother forgot?" "I did not forget. You forgot plenty lately." "Nora," he smiled. "Keys. Appointments. Medication. People are noticing." Ashley came out of the kitchen wearing one of my sweaters. My sweater? Cream cashmere. The one my father had bought me after my mother died. She folded her arms. "Stop making this about yourself. Your son needs you." So I drove through water rushing over the county road, with my phone on the passenger seat, Caleb's pharmacy bag in my mind, and fear sitting cold between my ribs. Halfway back, the brakes went soft. The pedal sank to the floor. The guardrail flashed white in my headlights. The car spun, slammed, rolled, and landed upside down near a creek. Metals screaming around me. I do not remember calling Mark. I remember the phone under the seat lighting up. I remember his voice coming through the speakers. Because the hands-free system connected by itself, Ashley was laughing in the background. "Is it done?" she asked. Mark said, "The road is washed out. Nobody will find her before morning." My mouth filled with blood. Rain dripped through cracked glass onto my face. Ashley said, "Let the dead weight disappear." Then Caleb's trust is ours. The house is ours. And I finally stopped pretending I like her. Mark laughed. That laugh did something the crash had not. It killed the woman who still loved him. I should have died there. Maybe that was their first mistake. A retired Coast Guard medic named Ray Moreno found the wreck at dawn while checking flood damage near his fishing cabin. He cut me out with tools older than my marriage, wrapped me in blankets, and took me to his sister's place before the county deputies arrived. His sister, Marlene, was a nurse who had seen enough scared women to know when a hospital report might become a death sentence. When I woke, cable news was already calling me missing. Mark stood outside our house with red eyes and perfect posture. "My wife is everything to me," he told the cameras. "Please, Nora, if you can hear me, come home to Caleb." Ashley stood behind him in black, holding my son like a trophy she had just won. I tried to sit up. Pain ripped through my side. Marlene pushed me back. "Easy. You have broken ribs, a concussion, and a face that needs stitches. Where do you think you're going? To get my son? Not looking like this. Not with him on television crying for you." She pointed at the screen. "Look at the sheriff beside your husband." I looked. There was Sheriff Dalton Mercer, smiling stiffly, one hand on Mark's shoulder. Mark had donated to his campaign. Mark had built the new youth center with his name on the plaque. Mark played golf with judges, developers, and men who believed money could polish anything. A dead wife had no voice against that kind of friendship, so I disappeared before they could disappear me again. Marlene cut my hair to my shoulders. Ray gave me old clothes, a burner phone, and a name from a cousin who ran janitorial contracts downtown. The scar on my face healed, raised, and sharp, like a signature carved by the wreck. I learned to lower my chin. I learned which cameras saw which doors. I learned that rich people look through service workers so completely, you can stand inches from them and be invisible. That invisibility put me inside Mark's building. It put me outside conference rooms where he lied to investors. It put me near Ashley when she complained about Caleb being moody, clingy, ungrateful. It put me in the parking garage when Mark told his lawyer, "Get the death certificate moving. The insurance company is stalling, and the trust cannot stay locked forever." Every word went into the little recorder hidden in my supply cart. But evidence was not the same as my child's hand in mine. The first time I saw Caleb up close after the lobby, he was sitting alone by a planter near the building cafe. Ashley had left him there while she filmed a lifestyle video about grief, resilience, and new beginnings. Mark was upstairs. The nanny was outside taking a call. Caleb stared at a muffin he had not touched. I wiped a table beside him, pretending to work. "You okay, buddy?" I asked. He glanced at my cap. "I'm not supposed to talk to strangers." "Smart rule." He rubbed his sleeve under his nose. "You sound like somebody." My chest locked. "Do I? My mom." He swallowed hard. "But she's in heaven. Ashley says if I keep talking about her, Dodd gets sad." The mop handle nearly slipped from my hand. "What do you think?" I asked. "I think sometimes heaven smells like banana cinnamon cupcakes." I turned away before he could see my eyes fill. Every Friday before the crash, I baked those cupcakes with him. Not because they were fancy, because Caleb said they tasted like home. That night I made a batch in Marlene's kitchen with shaking hands. The next day, a delivery driver carried a plain brown box to the Hayes house with groceries. Inside, under paper towels, I slipped a note for Rosa, our housekeeper, just a line from the lullaby I used to sing when Caleb's asthma scared him at night. "Sleep now. Little moon, Mama is under the same sky." Rosa called the burner phone less than an hour later. She did not say hello. She was crying too hard. "Señora Nora? Not that name." I whispered. "Are you alive?" "For Caleb." "Yes. They told him you drove away because you were tired of being a mother." Something inside me went silent. Rosa's voice dropped. "They make him call Miss Ashley Mom in front of people. When he refuses, Mr. Mark squeezes his shoulder until he does." I closed my eyes. "Can you help me?" I asked. "For that boy," she said. "I will walk through fire." Rosa became my eyes inside the house. She found pill bottles in Mark's private bathroom, prescriptions written in my name by a concierge doctor I had barely met, sedatives, anti-anxiety medication, refills I had never requested. Mark had not only planned my death, he had spent months making me look unstable first. My father would know what to do with that. I had avoided him because shame is a strange prison. He was a retired Oregon State Police detective, Thomas Whitaker, a man who had raised me to check locks, read faces, and never ignore a lie that arrived wearing a smile. After my supposed death, the news showed him aging in public. His shoulders sagged. His eyes lost their fight. When I knocked on his door on a wet Tuesday night, he opened it with a glass in his hand and grief on his face. "I don't have cash," he muttered, ready to close the door. I took off the cap. Then the glasses. "Dad." The glass fell and shattered. He stared at the scar, then at my eyes, then made a sound I had never heard from him. Half sob, half prayer. "Nora?" I nodded. He pulled me into the house so hard my ribs screamed. "My girl," he kept saying. "My girl? My girl." I told him everything at his kitchen table while dawn turned the windows gray. He did not interrupt. He did not tell me to calm down. He took notes like the detective he had been. Only his hand shook when I repeated the words from the crash. When I finished, he opened a locked file box. "I knew something stank," he said. "Mercer blocked me every time I asked for the crash report." Mark's lawyer pushed for a quick estate filing. "And look at this." He spread papers across the table. Banktransfers, shell companies, a limited liability company with Ashley's initials hidden in the ownership chain, a draft petition to have me declared legally dead as soon as possible, life insurance paperwork, a custody plan that removed my father from Caleb's access list. Dad looked at me over the papers. "He was not grieving you. He was closing a deal." I touched the scar on my cheek. "Then we make the deal bleed." He shook his head. "We do this clean?" "I know. Nora." I met his eyes. "I want him in prison." I said, "Not in a grave. Prison lasts longer." That was the moment my revenge stopped being heat and became architecture. Rosa got us the guest Wi-Fi password, security routines, access schedules, and the code Mark used for the safe behind the framed photo of the Portland skyline in his home office. Dad contacted an old friend in the state attorney general's office. Not with rumors, but with enough smoke to justify waiting for fire. Marlene saved every medical note from the days after the crash. Ray signed an affidavit about where and how he found me. Still, we needed the thing Mark would never admit existed. The dashcam memory card from my car. The official report said it had been destroyed by water damage. Dad did not believe that. Neither did I. Mark was too careful to leave a recording in a wreck before deputies arrived. He would have taken it, hidden it, and kept it, because men like him believe control means never throwing away leverage. The card was in his safe. Rosa saw it once, in a small plastic case labeled with my license plate number. Before we could take it, Caleb's birthday arrived. Mark rented the top floor of a Pearl District hotel and filled it with balloons. Photographers, donors, clients, and people who had never known me well enough to miss me. Honestly, Ashley wore pale gold and moved through the room like a widow who had upgraded herself into a bride. I entered through the service hallway in a black catering jacket. No one looked twice. Caleb stood on the stage beside a cake shaped like a mountain. His face was pale under the lights. Mark leaned down and whispered something in his ear. Ashley took the microphone. "This family has survived unimaginable loss," she said, voice thick and sweet. "But love rebuilds, and Caleb knows I will always be here for him." She lowered the mic to my son. "Tell everyone what you call me now." "Sweetheart." Caleb looked at the crowd, then at Mark. Mark's hand settled on the back of his neck. "Go on," Mark said through his smile. "Don't embarrass us," Caleb whispered. "Mom." Ashley closed her eyes like she had been blessed. I dug my nails into my palm until pain kept me upright. If you saw your child forced to call another woman mom, would you stay hidden for justice? After the candles, I slipped one banana cinnamon cupcake onto Caleb's table. Plain wrapper. No note, just the smell of home. He picked it up, confused. He took a bite. His eyes changed. He turned his head slowly. Searching the room, I stood near the curtain with a tray against my chest. His lips moved. Mom? I almost ran to him. My knees almost broke. But Ashley was crossing back toward the table. And Mark's security man was watching the service staff now. So I touched 2 fingers to my heart. The signal I used when Caleb was little and scared during doctor visits. He saw it. He did not smile. He did not call out. He just put the cupcake down and covered it with his napkin like he was hiding treasure. My boy understood more than they knew. The next phase began with ghosts. Blue hydrangeas appeared on Ashley's vanity. The same flowers from my wedding bouquet. The driver's seat in Mark's SUV was adjusted to my exact height. A playlist he had deleted from our shared account began playing through the house speakers at midnight. Just the lullaby melody without words. Nothing illegal. Nothing loud. Just enough memory to make guilty people turn on each other. Rosa placed tiny cameras where dust collectors used to sit. Dad routed the feeds to a room above a closed print shop downtown. I watched Mark pace his office. Watched Ashley drink alone. Watched them snap at each other in whispers that grew sharper every night. She's dead? Mark said once. Staring at the dark window, Ashley hugged herself. Then why does this house feel like it hates us? Because you're paranoid. I'm paranoid? She laughed hard and ugly. You were the one who cut the brake line. He grabbed her arm, and you were the one who said the storm would cover it. My recorder caught every word. Dad put a hand on my shoulder. That is enough for probable cause. No. I said, it is enough for the state. Not enough for Caleb. Dad understood. Caleb had been fed a story. I needed to break the story in front of the people who helped build it. Rosa got into the safe 2 nights before Mark and Ashley's engagement gala. It was supposed to be their public rebirth. A luxury event at the same hotel. With investors, reporters, charity board members, and every person Mark needed to keep his empire standing. Rosa slipped into the office while they were at a tasting. She opened the safe with the code she had watched Mark press through a reflection in the window. Inside were passports, cashier's checks, property documents, and the little plastic case. Then Mark came home early. I heard it through Rosa's hidden earbud. He's in the driveway. She breathed. Closet. Dad said? Now. Rosa did not argue. The camera feed shook as she ran. She hid behind Mark's winter coats, just as his office door opened. Mark entered, breathing hard. He grabbed a second phone from the desk, then stopped. The painting over the safe was crooked by the width of a finger. My lungs froze. He walked toward it. Rosa was so still, the camera barely moved. Mark straightened the painting. His hand rested on the frame. For one awful second, I thought he would open the safe and find the empty slot. Then his phone buzzed. Ashley's voice came through on speaker. Are you coming or not? The planner is waiting. And I am not explaining your weird moods to anyone. Mark cursed under his breath and left. Rosa waited until the SUV pulled away. Then she crawled out, crying silently, the memory card clenched in her fist. When Dad and I played it, the room went colder than winter. There was the storm, my own frightened breathing, the crash, the automatic call, Ashley's laugh, let the dead weight disappear. Then Mark, nobody will find her before morning. And later, faint but clear, Ashley asking, what about Caleb? Mark answered, he is a trust fund with asthma. We keep him breathing, and we keep him scared. I covered my mouth, not because I doubted him, because hearing your child reduced to money by his own father is a special kind of violence. Dad stopped the video. It ends tomorrow. No. I said, tomorrow. It begins where they wanted applause. The gala smelled like white roses, champagne, and expensive lies. I entered through the loading dock in a technician's shirt. My hair pinned flat, My scar uncovered for the first time since the crash. Dad had officers from the state task force waiting outside. Not Mercer's deputies. The Attorney General's investigator sat at a table near the back, dressed like a guest. A reporter Dad trusted had been tipped without being told why. Every screen in the ballroom ran through the audio-visual booth. Every microphone fed into our system. Every exit had a camera. On stage, Mark raised a glass. "Life gives us tragedy," he said, his voice smooth as poured honey, "but it also gives us second chances." Ashley stood beside my son and me when grief could have destroyed us. Ashley dabbed her eye with a tissue. "Nora was my dearest friend," she said. "I honor her by loving what she left behind." A sound rose in my throat. Dad looked at me. "Wait," he whispered. Mark lifted his glass higher. "To loyalty?" I pressed the key. The ballroom went dark. Gasps spread through the crowd. Crystal clinked. Someone laughed nervously. Then the giant screen behind them flashed to life. Not with engagement photos. With my upside-down dashcam view, rain streaking the glass. My own blood on the lens, and Ashley's voice filling every speaker. "Let the dead weight disappear." The room stopped breathing. Mark's glass slipped from his fingers and shattered at his feet. The recording continued. "Nobody will find her before morning," Mark said from the speakers. Calm and almost bored. Then the screen changed. Bank transfers. Forged medication records. Emails between Mark and the concierge doctor. The draft petition to have me declared dead. The hidden company holding stolen assets for Ashley. The insurance claim. The custody plan. People began backing away from them. Reporters lifted their cameras. Ashley whispered, "Turn it off." Mark lunged for the stairs. "Turn it off right now." The spotlight snapped on at the side entrance. I walked in. No mask. No cap. No bent shoulders. Just me. In a black dress. With my scar in full view and my father behind me. Ashley screamed first. Mark looked like his skin had forgotten blood. "Nora," he said. "Babit. Listen. This is not what it looks like." I stopped at the foot of the stage. He spread his hands toward the crowd. "She has been sick. I tried to protect her. You all saw the medication. She is confused." There it was. The last card. The same old cage. Ashley dropped to her knees. "Nora. Please." "He made me do it. He said you were unstable. He said you hated being a mother." I was scared of him too. I looked at her. "You wore my sweater while my son was choking." Her face folded. Mark pointed at me. "You abandoned Caleb? You let him think you were dead." I took one step closer. "You taught him to grieve a mother you tried to murder." The room went silent again. Mark's mask cracked. "You think you can walk in here with a scar and a sob story and take everything from me?" I smiled. "No. Mark, you already gave it to me. On video." Dad moved past me. Badge open. Cuffs in hand. "Mark Hayes. You are under arrest for attempted murder. Conspiracy. Insurance fraud. Wire fraud. Prescription fraud. And custodial interference." Mark jerked back. "Tom. Don't be stupid. You do this? I bury you." Dad pinned his wrist behind his back. "You already tried to bury my daughter." The cuffs clicked. Ashley tried to crawl away from the stage, but 2 state officers stepped in front of her. Her gold dress bunched around her knees. Makeup ran down her face in dark lines. "Nora," she sobbed. "Please. Caleb needs a mother." I turned toward the table where my son sat frozen. Rosa beside him with both hands on his shoulders. "He has one." Caleb stood slowly. For a second, he looked at Mark. His father was red-faced, sweating, spitting threats at officers. Then Caleb looked at me. At my scar. At my open arms. "Mom?" I nodded. And whatever was left of my strength broke into light. He ran. I dropped to my knees before he reached me. He hit my chest with a sob that shook his whole body. I wrapped my arms around him and felt his thin back, his breath, his real living warmth. I knew He cried into my shoulder. I knew the cupcake was you. I came back. I whispered, I came back for you. Are you leaving again? Never. Behind us, cameras flashed. People shouted questions. Mark cursed my name. Ashley screamed that she was a victim. None of it reached me. For the first time since the cliff, the world had only one sound that mattered. My son breathing against my neck. The legal storm came fast. Mark's accounts were frozen. Ashley's company was exposed. The doctor who had written the prescriptions turned over records before the charges swallowed him too. Sheriff Mercer resigned after investigators uncovered favors, donations, and buried reports. The house in Lake Oswego was returned to my name. Caleb's trust was locked behind protections Mark could never touch again. Mark and Ashley did not become tragic lovers in jail. They became exactly what they had always been. Hungry people blaming each other for the mess they made. You promised me a life, Ashley shouted during one hearing. Her orange jumpsuit too big on her shoulders. Mark leaned toward her. Eyes flat. You promised me silence. She laughed. Sharp and broken. You loved her money more than you ever loved me? He said, and you loved being her more than you ever loved me? I watched from the back row with Caleb's hand in mine. Caleb asked, do we have to stay? No, I said. So we left before the judge finished reading the next motion. I had spent enough of my life watching those two perform. That night, I walked into my house as myself. Rosa cried when I gave her the keys to the guest cottage and told her it was hers for as long as she wanted. Dad checked every window twice, then pretended he was not crying when Caleb asked him to stay for pancakes in the morning. Marlene and Ray came over with soup, blankets, and the quiet comfort of people who had saved a life without asking for applause. I went room by room removing Ashley from the walls. Her perfumes, her clothes, her fake framed photos with my son, her self-help books about healing from grief she had helped create. Every item went into boxes for evidence. Donation or trash. In my bedroom, I found the cream sweater folded in the back of a drawer. I held it for a long time. Then I put it in the fireplace. Caleb stood beside me. Was that yours? Yes. Did you like it? I did. Then why burn it? I watched the flame catch the sleeve, because some things come back carrying the smell of people who touch them wrong. He leaned against me. Can we bake tomorrow? I kissed his hair. Banana cinnamon? With extra frosting. For you. Extra? We slept in the big guest room that first week because my old bedroom felt too full of ghosts. Caleb kept waking to check if I was still there. Every time, sometimes I was sitting in the chair beside him. Sometimes I was on the floor with my back to the door. Healing did not arrive clean and pretty. It came in small proofs. Morning light. Warm pancakes. A locked gate. A child breathing steadily through the night. Months later, the plea deals came. Mark fought until the evidence made fighting expensive and useless. Ashley turned on him. Then on the doctor. Then on anyone whose name she could trade for a smaller sentence. In the end, both of them lost the thing they had killed for. Control. The court did not give me back the night on the cliff. It did not erase Caleb calling another woman Mom. It did not soften the scar on my face, but it gave us room to live. I sold Mark's downtown office shares and used part of the money to open a recovery center outside Portland for women and children escaping coercive homes. Not a mansion. Not a charity gala backdrop. A real place with secure doors. Legal advocates. Therapy rooms. A pantry that never ran empty. And staff trained to believe quiet fear before it became a headline. The sign out front did not carry my last name. It said Safe Harbor House. On opening day, Caleb ran across the lawn with a kite while Dad argued with Ray about how to fix a loose gate hinge. Rosa organized the kitchen like she had been born commanding armies. Marlene checked the first aid room and told me the bandages were stocked, then hugged me before I could thank her. A young mother arrived that afternoon with a toddler asleep on her shoulder and bruises hidden under makeup. She looked at my scar and then quickly looked away. Ashamed of being curious, I sat beside her on the porch. It is okay, I said. People look. Does it still hurt? She asked. Sometimes. Do you hate the people who did it? I watched Caleb's kite lift above the trees, bright against the Oregon sky. I hated them long enough to survive. I said. Then I stopped giving them free rent in my chest. She blinked at me. Forgiveness? She asked. Not the pretty kind people talk about when they want victims to be quiet. I mean the kind where I wake up and choose my son, my coffee, my work, my own breath. Before I choose their names, she nodded slowly, like the idea was too heavy but worth holding. That evening, when the center quieted and the sky turned pink over the pines, Caleb brought me a cupcake from the kitchen. It leaned to one side, with too much frosting and cinnamon sprinkled like dirt. I made it, he said proudly. I took a bite. It tasted like home, fighting its way back. I still have the scar. I do not hide it anymore. It is not beautiful. And I do not need it to be. It is proof. Proof that the cliff did not keep me. Proof that a woman can be erased on paper and still come back with receipts. Proof that a mother can swallow her scream long enough to build a trap, then speak once and make a room full of liars, choke on the truth. Mark once told me nobody would believe a dead woman. He was right about one thing. A dead woman has no voice. So I came back alive. I took my son, my name, my house, and my future back in front of everyone who had clapped for my replacement. I let the law take my husband. I let the truth bury my best friend. I let my child see that silence was not weakness. It was timing. And now I want to ask you, if you were in my place, would you have exposed them in that ballroom the way I did? Or would you have chosen a quieter revenge?